200,000 lives affected by CET. And please, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome a lady who has led this organization throughout the years, and so eloquently and so diligently and so professionally, and yet she is still the salt of the earth. Please welcome Ermelinda Sapien.
Good evening. Thank you very much for honoring us with your presence. This is a very important day for all of us here at CET, not only because of the significance of our 50th anniversary, but more important for the 200,000 graduates whose lives were transformed. That deserves an applause. Of equal importance is your support. An organization does not operate for 50 years because of an accident. It takes a whole community, all of you. Thank you so very much. This event is also made possible by our sponsors that include Google, Sobrato Foundation, and John Sobrato and Sue Sobrato. Microsoft, Silicon Valley Community Foundation, Wells Fargo, First Bank, Epic Insurance Brokers and Consultants, CET Immigration and Citizenship Program, PepsiCo, all of our table sponsors, thank you. Telemundo, KST, S48, Cyberpress. Thank you very much for your generosity. And we are so very thrilled and happy to have special friends, including Señora Dolores Huerta. UFW President Arturo Rodriguez. John and Sue Sobrato. Emmett Carson, founding CEO of Silicon Valley Community Foundation, and Mrs. Carson. Christopher Engdahl, U.S. Department of Labor. Juan Regalado, U.S. Department of Labor. Luis and Lupe Valdez, el Teatro Campesino. Rita Chavez Medina, sister of the late Cesar Chavez and board member of Chavez Family Vision. Andrea Bailey, Community Engagement Manager, Chevron, spearheading the upcoming opening of a CET Center in Richmond, California. Also from Richmond, Jim Becker, President and CEO of the Richmond Community Foundation. Sal Vaca, Director of Workforce, Richmond, California. David Mirioni, Executive Director, Work to Future Foundation. Marco Lizárraga, Executive Director, La Cooperativa Campesina de California. Anita Maldonado, CEO, California Human Development, Santa Rosa. George Ortiz and Chris Page, former CEOs of California Human Development, Santa Rosa. CET was started in the church. and we continue to be guided by spiritual force. So at this time, I would like to call on Father John Perigo of the Diocese of San Jose, who will lead the invocation.
And it would be easy for us to kind of give up, to stop fighting, stop resisting. But Scripture tells us from Isaiah, learn to do right. See that justice is done. Help those who are oppressed. Give orphans their rights and defend widows. From Isaiah, first chapter, verse 17. These words guide people of faith, people of action, people of inspiration. These are the words that we take as a command. These are the words that gave birth to CET in a neighborhood that was forgotten, lost, a victim of social apartheid in America. So we pray and ask the intercession of the Santo Patrón de los Campesinos y Obreros, Cesar Chavez, presente. Invite us to just take a moment to just repeat the lines of the farm worker, the prayer of the farm worker struggle. Show me the suffering of the most miserable, so I will know my people's plight. Free me to pray for others, for you are present in every person. Help me take responsibility for my own life, so that I can be free at last. Grant me courage to serve others, for in service there is true life. Give me honesty and patience, so that I can work with other workers. Bring forth song and celebration, so that the Spirit may be alive among us. Let the Spirit flourish and grow, so that we will never tire of the struggle. Let us remember those who have died for justice, for they have given us life. Help us love even those who hate us, so we can change the world. Amen. Si se puede! 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 Si se... Amen.
Well, it's my great pleasure to be here with all of you and with my wife, Jessica. You know, there's a gentleman here, something a visionary himself, who told us years ago that the future belongs to those who can imagine it. That was, of course, great playwright Luis Valdez. And 50 years ago, there were those who had the vision to imagine something extraordinary. It was, of course, Father Anthony Soto, Russ Tershi, and a young staffer of theirs, still young, Ermelinda Sapien. Yep. And I don't know if you noticed the picture on the way in with Ermelinda and Cesar and others, but she looks exactly the same today. Yep, absolutely. And 50 years ago, of course, they planted a seed, and that seed was planted in the back of Our Lady of Guadalupe Church at McDonald Hall. That has been a fertile place to plant seeds, we know, for innovative social movements, for organizations that would grow, indeed, for movements that would alter the social conscience of an entire nation. So we are incredibly grateful here in the city of San Jose to be the birthplace of this extraordinary movement known as CET. And we know there were some other extraordinary movements that started there in the back of Our Lady of Guadalupe as well. I know Dolores Huerta could probably tell you a few things about some other extraordinary movements that emerged This is all one tree, different branches, but the same fertile soil. And regardless of who's in the White House in Washington, D.C., regardless of what anybody may be doing or tweeting or saying in the media, it remains the case that San Jose continues to be the fertile soil for those movements that will change the social conscience of a nation. And so we are very proud here in the city of San Jose to welcome you tonight. I know I am joined by several of my colleagues. We're going to be up here again in just a moment to present a commendation, but I wanted to thank all of you for joining us in this very important celebration. Thank you.
It's an honor for me to be on the board of CET. Not everyone knows what CET is, and sometimes I wish we would talk more about it in terms of skill training and human development. Everyone knows about the skill training, but not everyone knows about the human development that goes on. And I think one of the best ways to see this is to go to a graduation and see the touching, hear the touching stories and watch people talk about how much they appreciate their instructors. I wish my students felt that way. But tonight is a celebration of tremendous accomplishment, and we're delighted you could attend. Thank you.
We also want to welcome from the San Jose Evergreen Community College District Chancellor, Dr. Debbie Buddy, and ladies and gentlemen, the former mayor of the city of San Jose, Ron Gonzalez.
For 32 years, the driving force behind CET was co-founder and first executive director, Russell Tershi. He worries about the organization that he co-founded with Anthony Soto 50 years ago. It is my pleasure to introduce our first executive director and co-founder and my former boss, Russell Tershi.
Thank you, Irma Linda. I was not the only founder. There was Antonio Soto, Father Antonio Soto, in fond memory, who was responsible for organizing the neighborhood to accept me and to accept CET. And there was another founder. It was Irma Linda Sapien, who was my secretary. And everyone thought I ran the program. She did. And I promoted her, and she kept getting promotions until she became the director of personnel, and then finally kicked me out and took over my place. So we should congratulate Irma Linda as one of the founders also with that. And now look at it. Thanks to Irma Linda and the money she got, I got it going, but she kept developing it, and she needs an applause for that. So I'm proud of Irma Linda as one of the beginning organizers of the program. And I'm proud of her because she moved this forward. I consider Irma Linda as one of the co-founders with Antonio Soto, my priest. And so with that, I say hallelujah. Thank you, Irma Linda. Amen.
We're tonight giving for an award for an institution that for more than 15 years, Wells Fargo has generously invested in CET's employment and training programs. This collaborative effort has resulted in the workforce training and job placement of thousands of California residents. Thank you, Wells Fargo, for your continued support and commitment to helping our neighbors succeed and our communities thrive.
And Wells Fargo and CBT have been building a strong relationship for several years. And since 2002, Wells Fargo has donated more than $679,000 to support numerous initiatives and programs. The goal of those funds have been to ensure that CET students here in San Jose, the Bay Area, the rest of California, and beyond have the tools and resources that they need to be successful. After all, if our people are successful, our communities can thrive as well. CET gives people more than a start of a career. CET gives people hope, the power to believe in themselves, and the strength to face their adversities. On your 50th anniversary, we applaud you, your vision, and commitment to fill our community by teaching highly marketable skills in many occupations. And our promise to you is to continue to work alongside CET and help in whichever capacity we can, not only to achieve your goals, but also to ensure that students have the career training, the personal skills, and social support that they need to make their dreams come true. Thank you again for recognizing our support to CET and honoring us with the Community Partner Award.
John Sobrato and his wife, Mrs. Suzanne Sobrato. They have been loyal supporters of our work and of education of young English learners. John and Sue, we are not presenting you with an award because your walls, I am sure, are full. But what I do want to say is that with your name on our building, we thank you and we honor you every day. Thank you, John and Sue, for your generosity and your commitment to the education of young children and the training of their parents. Thank you. At this time, I would like to call on Ernestine Howard. She is being honored as a staff member who is an outstanding human being and outstanding role model as an instructor. Ms. Howard is the training manager of the infant program and the child care provider program at the Sobrato CET Center. She completed her AA degree in Child and Family Studies Human Development at Syracuse University and is a graduate of the International Montessori Institute. Ms. Howard has over 19 years of experience teaching and supervising infant, toddlers, and preschool programs. She has received several child care achievement and recognition awards and is a qualified teacher trainer in the community. It is an honor for CET to recognize Ms. Howard for the significant role that she has played in the success of CET for her 32 years out of the 50. She's a role model for her students and all staff. She's an exceptional teacher, mentor, counselor, and an amazing, caring, and loving human being. Ernie.
Good evening, everyone. And truly, I'm blessed to be here and to be among all of you, and all of you are VIPs, and celebrating CET's 50th golden anniversary is history. Training and placing in jobs over 2,000 students, and 200,000 students, and I'm a part of that. I'm speechless in the sense that my heart is filled. When I left New York and came here, I said, I don't know where I would start and get a job because nobody knows me. And the directors and all of the friends and directors and that I knew said, Ernie, yes, you will. They will get to know you. And when I came in the doors of CET, the director at that time was Patricia, said, God sent you. You're an angel. I can't believe this. You're just what we wanted to be a director in our child care program. And from that, I moved on to the early childhood teaching training. And Hermelinda hired me and was interviewed there, and I thank you. So, being our First Lady, CET President and CEO, Hermelinda, I thank you from my bottom of my heart.
Melinda, thank you very, very much. Chris, thank you for all your work. Good evening, sisters and brothers. Don't leave, Melinda. I don't want you to have to walk up here again. But it has been said that the CET training organization and the UFW are like cousins, and it's true. We both trace our origins here to San Jose, where Cesar, Rita, where's Rita? Someplace here? Rita and Cesar's family first came following the migrant trails in 1939. Both the UFW and CET went on to forever change the lives of farm workers and other poor working families across California and the nation. After 5 decades, the services CET has provided to the community have transformed lives. The fruit those endeavors have borne are scattered throughout this room and throughout this state, represented by graduates from multiple generations whose lives were changed by the training they received. There is no greater testament to the extraordinary achievements of this organization. No one has been a greater beneficiary of your commitment and generosity to this day than our farm worker movement. Since the 1960s, during nearly every major campaign, when the UFW faced great adversity and long odds, CET and your staff was by our side. During crucial marches, strikes, and legislative battles, during Cesar's long public fast, when our movement was most in need of financial and material support, when farm workers suffered through droughts, freezes, floods, earthquakes, and other natural disasters, CET was by our side. But CET wasn't just there when the action was in the San Jose or the Central Coast. CET activists from all of your statewide centers journeyed offering aid over the years to and where farm workers were throughout the state, struggling nonviolently. Coming to the defense of immigrants isn't a newfound calling for CET. You served tens of thousands after passage of the amnesty provisions of the 1986 federal immigration reform that the UFW helped fashion. And those efforts by CET continue today. Given the menacing environment, the work of CET and the UFW are more critical than ever. We need to fight on behalf of the dreamers, to protect them and ensure their legal status. On this historic occasion, we in the UFW and the farm worker movement are in your debt. We are humbled by your championing of La Causa. Hermelinda, your leadership has placed CET in a league of its own. And the personal friendship you and I have had is deeply valued. Hermelinda and the staff of CET, we are honored tonight to present you with the UFW's 50th anniversary commemorative eagle to mark this historic occasion.
Boy, talk about community and movement commitment. Every time you call Artie or he calls you, he's on his way from La Paz to Visalia to Sacramento. The next day he's back to Coachella. Then he's over to Greenfield and then to Watsonville. The man is always on the road. He works harder than everybody I know. Artie Rodriguez, ladies and gentlemen.
Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. God bless. God bless CET. Yes, I did get graduated from CET this past May. Grew up in King City, California, in the Salinas Valley. You know, I was one of those last generations as a kid who got to know what it was like to work in the field. I got a taste of it at the young age of 7. During my winter breaks, my mom would work in the fields. She's been in the 30-something plus years in the uva, in the grapes. #1 in her work. She's #1 in seniority. Been doing it for a long time. During the winters, there was no grape work. We picked chili. I got to go. That's when I first saw my mom working hard. Never realized what it was like to work in the field. But I got a glimpse of my mom working that day. It was 5 in the morning. She asked me to wait in the car. She tells me, come out when the sun's up. I'm looking out the window trying to figure out what's going on. I see a bunch of guys, a lot of shadows, bend over, looking around. I'm like, what are they looking for? Then the sun comes up, and I see what they're looking for, chile. Here I am, I walk out, and I see my mom, 5'1", small, petite little woman, carrying these big old gallons of chili over her shoulder, not walking, but running across the field. I saw that, my jaw dropped. My mom has superpowers. How's she doing this? I came back, my mouth was wide open. I was just staring at my mom, and the first thing she goes, what are you doing? Fill my bucket. So there I go. During my youth in the summers, I'd work in the garlic. You know, she'd take me to work with her to help her out. And like I said, I was one of those last generations as a kid that got a taste of that. They don't allow that no more. But that right there taught me a huge lesson of what I don't want to do for the rest of my life. The field work is honorable work. It's an honest living. I'm not shy from hard work. You know, as that field taught me that this is not what I wanted. I went to school. I worked 3 jobs, became a medical assistant, became a school nurse. Did that for 14 years. But then I got sick. I got really sick from my pancreas, and I was told that I was going to be on disability for whatever was left of my life. I refused to accept that. So I went back to the field. That's the only job I could get. That's the only place I could get hired. I was not going to be on disability at the young age of 30-something. No way. After a few years of doing odd jobs, field work, catering, taquero, jack of all trades, I was not happy. I've always wanted to be a chef. I just could not afford it. Living in King City, the closest culinary schools were here in San Jose and in San Francisco, way out of my pocket range. Along with the transportation, commuting, there was just no way. This past year in July, God blessed me with a job at the Women's Pro Golf Tour here in San Martin, and I met a young man at one of the concessions. I was able to work my way in as one of the concession managers, saying that I was a sous chef for Big Tone Tacos. You know? I brought my brother along, saying that was the CEO and he was my sous chef, and we got the job. That day I will forever be grateful to God, because she introduced me to a young man, a CET alumni by the name of Lorenzo. This young man saw me working hard. He said, man, why aren't you doing this for a living? And here's where the commercial starts. I can't afford it. There's no way for me to do this. He goes, well, you need to go to CET. CET? What's CET? Oh, man, it's an awesome school. You know, they'll give you a ride, they'll pick you up. That's when he started showing me his chef kit. Mom, they gave you that there? Yeah. They even pay you to go. I'm like, yeah, right. No, they don't. So he gives me the number. During my lunch hour, exactly about an hour later, I call. You know, and Henry Rubio answered the phone with, you know, "Happy Tuesday, God bless, how may I help you?" And it was so welcoming. You know, I made an appointment, I came. It took me a while to get the paperwork together, but the wonderful staff here helped me get through that. I was embraced with love, patience. These people were just really wanting to help me. I'll never forget Debbie staying here past her times. We were here till 6:30, punching in those numbers, making sure I qualified. And I did. I started that following Monday. And my first day here at CET changed my life. It transformed my life. I got to meet some wonderful people here, and during my time here, I did struggle. Being a family of 8, between my wife and I, we have 6 children, 6. And working, I could never find fulfillment because I could never afford anything. I was just working for rent, working for school clothes. I was never really happy. Happy to provide, but never really fulfilling what I want to do. And CET gave me that. There was more than 1-2 occasions where I was gonna have to take a leave of absence. But thanks to staff members like Leila, Chef Ricardo, helping me, trying to get me to, he goes, "You can't leave, you gotta stick to this." And thanks to La Cooperativa Housing, I was able to get funded for rent. They helped me with groceries. They helped me through that hard winter time. This place gives you all the tools that you need to succeed. If you come to CET and you do not leave a success, it's because you didn't want it. It's because you didn't work at it. This place has given me so much that I'll be forever in your debt. You know, I have goals. I want to open up my own place, and with time, be able to make some good money, not to get rich, but to give back. Maybe donate 75% of my profits to people to help to change lives. I pay this forward every day wherever I go. I love CET. It changed my life. I doubled my income in 9 months. Where do you do that? Where do you do that? This place, Chef Ricardo gave me, I've had so many wonderful conversations with this man, such good advice. And my favorite line is, "I can't tell you what to do, I can only suggest." That magic words, because I listened. They didn't go in and out, they stayed. Attack the action, not the person. Well, that professional advice, everything that I've learned here, because every day here was a new experience for me. I am now a chef on Cannery Row in Monterey. I went from being a school nurse to picking strawberries, carrots, ajo, broccoli, you name it, I've done it. Worked long hours. I know what it's like to see the sun come up and see the sun come down and then go home and do it all over again. Now, I'm working hard. It feels like I live at the restaurant, but I love every minute of it. Every time they ask, "Chef, I need this. Chef, risotto. Chef, I need all this." Every time I hear that word, it's awesome. I'm a chef. CET was able to fulfill something that I've wanted since I was 7 years old. I've always wanted this, and I would have never been able to do it if it wasn't for CET. Truly, I stand here blessed, proud, honored to be one of the 200,000 to be walking through these doors, because you truly have transformed my life. Truly for the best. I love you guys. I thank you, and I will always be in my debt. Thank you very much, CET.
Herbert Sequenza of Culture Clash said it best. He said, "Luis Valdez is our Shakespeare." Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Luis Valdez. Let's give him a great CET 50th anniversary welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Chris and Nelly Longoria have been members of El Teatro Campesino Board of Directors, not just for this organization, but also for El Teatro Campesino. And we are very grateful for their service in both organizations and to all of you that continue to serve the good cause. 50 years, congratulations CET, Ermelinda, un gran abrazo y felicidades. El 50 aniversario, that's the correct way you say it, but that's the way Chicanos say it, right? El 50 aniversario is not just a meaningful event, it is a life event, completely. None of us live forever, so 50 years is quite a chunk. If nothing else, 50 years gives you a perspective. El Teatro Campesino is now celebrating its 52nd year. We started, as most of you probably know, on the picket lines of the Delano Grape Strike with Dolores and Cesar, giving voice to the voiceless through the use of theater and music and the power of a movement inspired directly from the human heart. The movement for social justice, the movement for all those people that sacrifice themselves in the fields and are never given the adequate opportunity to be able to express themselves, their own ideas, their own thoughts. They're hardly ever asked. But El Teatro Campesino sought to change that in the most direct way. Cesar said there's no money to do theater in Delano, there's no actors, there's no place to rehearse. We're on the picket line night and day, do you still want to do it? And they said, absolutely. What an opportunity. So El Teatro Campesino was born on the picket line, that's all, that's where it had to be born. In action, and it continues that action on the picket lines, not on the picket lines exactly, but certainly in the fields with farm workers. We're in the mouth of Salinas Valley, as most of you know. We're based in San Juan Bautista and still working with campesinos throughout the state, as well as audiences everywhere. A lot has happened in 50 years. 50 years ago, almost tonight, El Teatro Campesino was on tour, our first national boycott grape tour from coast to coast. We were invited to the Newport Folk Festival by Pete Seeger, and we performed on that huge stage, did our actos, and then went on to New York City, where we were hosted by Charlotte Ford, the daughter of one of Henry Ford's daughters in the East Village, and they had a wonderful reception for us in a backyard. It's kind of a New York intelligentsia event. We raised an amazing $7,500. It was incredible. And all that went into the coffers of fundraising that we were doing. From there, we went to Washington, D.C., where under the auspices of the two Kennedy brothers, Robert Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy and Ted Kennedy, we were able to perform inside the Senate courtyard in the Senate building. I don't know how many theater companies had the opportunity to do that, but certainly as Americans, it was a boat of energy and pride that took us to that wooden stage that they had erected, and we performed there in the Senate courtyard. After that, we headed off to Detroit, and this is where the story gets interesting. Because as we were approaching Detroit, there's a movie out called Detroit. I don't know if you've seen it. I haven't seen it yet. I didn't have to because I was there for the real thing. What happened is that we were driving into Detroit. We had a gig that night, but we couldn't get into the city because the National Guard was blocking the freeway. It was the most astonishing sight I had ever seen in my whole life. There are American National Guardsmen out there with their rifles and tanks blocking thousands of vehicles trying to get into Detroit. There was no way. They were turning everybody away. They said there were dead people lying in the streets of Detroit. And so we moved on. We moved on to Chicago, ended up at the Union office on Wabash Avenue, crashed there on the floor for a while. We had a performance in a couple of days in Chicago. Now, Chicago was about to explode with racial tensions. This is 1967, a year before Martin Luther King was assassinated and before Robert Kennedy was assassinated. But the tensions coming from the Vietnam War and the Civil Rights Movement were such that the country was absolutely boiling and ready to boil over. And so Chicago was no different. And yet our performance was in the south side of Chicago, in an African-American neighborhood, in a school, and we didn't know that anybody was going to come because the city was locked up like a drum. But that night, we saw this line of cars caravanning into the south side, and there were people, white people mostly, coming to see El Teatro Campesino perform in an elementary school on the south side of Chicago, surrounded by very angry black residents. And it was amazing to me that we were able to hold this union rally, this campesino union rally on the south side of Chicago, and receive the support of all these union supporters. And then when it was over, man, everybody just went home, you know, because the next night there were riots in the streets of Chicago. The next night, buildings were burning and people were dead in the street. So El Teatro Campesino picked up its things and we moved up north. We went to a place called Watoma, Wisconsin, where the celery workers, apio, they picked celery up there, and they converted an old movie house, a Mexican movie house, into a theater. They built out a stage over the seats, and El Teatro Campesino performed for the campesinos in Wisconsin. We were glad to get out of Chicago, quite frankly. There was no riot in Watoma, but there was a huelga spirit. And then from there, we went on to Denver, and we met Corky Gonzalez in the Crusade for Justice. We would have stopped to see Tijerina in New Mexico, but he was up in the mountains. He was being chased by the National Guard because of the Tierra Maria shooting. I don't know if you know about the raid on the Tierra Maria courthouse, all Chicano history. You won't find it in Arizona these days, but you can probably find it in California somewhere, this story. In any case, what we did do is we went to Silver City, New Mexico, and we were received by Juan Chacon. Now, he is the lead character in life as well as in the movie of The Salt of the Earth. And we performed in their union hall, the smelter, the workers, the silver workers. And most of the men and women that were in that hall had been in the movie. I don't know if you know Salt of the Earth. We saw Salt of the Earth here in San Jose State in 1959 when I was a student. We tried to show it, a 16-millimeter print. But then the campus police came in, turned down the lights, stopped the machine, confiscated the film, and they said, you can't see this film because this is a communist film. It's one of the classics of American cinema and history, of the labor movement of America. But we were prevented at San Jose State from showing the movie. Now, this was in the early 60s, but that ignited campus rebellion at San Jose State, the fact that they wouldn't let us show the movie. We showed it eventually, but it added to the fervor of the times. Now, I mention all of this because these are hard times right now. These are very difficult times that we're going as a country and as a world. And I find myself daily watching the news and trying to control my rage. Where is the rage? It's good that there is no rage, but there has to be a hunger for justice, and a hunger for equilibrium, a hunger for balance in this country. The fish, they say, rots from the head, and the head is rotten. I can make comparisons. 50 years is something. 50 years gives us a perspective, absolutely. And nothing is happening today that can compare, actually, with the potential violence in the streets in the 1960s, 50 years ago. And we went through that. We went through a whole period where they were trying to kill Cesar, and probably Dolores. And we were bodyguarding him and trying to put him away so that someone would not pump a bullet into him, into his head, and kill him. Now, he managed to escape, but I think he died young as a martyr, really, to a movement against injustice. And so we need to look back 50 years and then look back another 50 years. 50 years before 1967 was 1917. What's happening in 1917? Woodrow Wilson is showing Birth of the Nation about the rise of the Ku Klux Klan in the White House. At the same time, there's revolution that is raging in Mexico, causing many of our grandparents to come to the United States because there was bloodshed and murder. 1 million people died in the Mexican Revolution. 50 years before that, 1867, the French were being kicked out of Mexico by Benito Juarez and the Chinacos. I mention this because my next play is called Adios Mama Carlota, and it will have its world premiere here in San Jose. Now, Benito Juarez, like some of the students that we have heard from today, had to be taught because he lived in a time in Mexico where Indians were not taught to read. Indians were not even allowed to get on horseback. A caballero was a Spanish white guy, and the peon, the guy on foot, was the indio. And so Indios had to learn how to ride horses in secret. And they became the followers of Benito Juarez. And Benito Juarez had to learn to read in secret because a priest took him under his wing, hoping that he'd become a priest, but he became a lawyer. Those are the breaks, you know. He became a lawyer and eventually the head of the Supreme Court justice, and eventually Mexico's president when the French came in and invaded and took over. Now, interestingly enough, there was this relationship. Nobody was trying to build a wall between Mexico and the United States at that time. But actually, the South, once they lost the war in the United States, were trying to move into Mexico. And there was tremendous fear that the Southerners would institute slavery in Mexico, which had been outlawed in the 1830s. So all of this is history, I'm telling you. We didn't get here without bloodshed by our predecessors. We didn't get here without the suffering of all those people that have come before us, including our parents that worked in the fields together with the children, working on their knees. I'll never forget my mother's bloody knees working in the fields. But the fact is that we have endured and we have conquered the injustices day by day, student by student, organization by organization. El Teatro Campesino was formed on the picket lines of the Delano grape strike for the same reasons that CET was created, is to empower people that had no power, is to give a voice to people that had no voices. Our destiny was to help to empower our people to express what was in their minds and what was in their hearts as part of the American experience. I challenge you to go anywhere, go to any restaurant these days, go to any hospital, go to any school, and what you will see, tending the patients, feeding the people, teaching your children, are the people of this vast spectrum of the human race. People of every color and from every corner of the world. What the hell do they mean that globalism is not real? We live in a global world. When Columbus set out to find India, he was trying to establish globalism. It didn't get established until 1571 when the Spanish galleons started to sail from Manila to Acapulco, bringing Filipinos to the New World for the first time. They called them Chinos, but they were Filipinos. And now the Filipinos are here and everywhere. And they are part of the makeup of America. As far as I'm concerned, the Filipinos are the Hispanics of Asia, so they give us a foothold, in Asia. But the point is not to be Anglo or Hispanic or this or that or black or white. The point is that we're all human. We're all human beings, and that we need each other in order to be able to survive. In order to be able to survive just the illnesses that impact our civilization and our people. Healthcare, absolutely essential. We should all be born and given an operator's manual as to how the body works. You say, don't drink this because this will screw up your kidneys eventually. Don't do this because this will give you bladder stones and kidney stones. Don't do this, don't do that, But do this. Eat well. Take care of yourself. Exercise. Get educated. Get smart about what's inside of you as well as what's outside of you. Take care of your mind. Develop. Teach. And this has been happening. There's no reason to despair. I have to calm my own rage down and say, they cannot turn the clock back. As Cesar said, once people have learned ideas that liberate their minds, you can't uneducate them. You can't take away their ideals. You cannot take that sense of freedom that they have gained for themselves. In America, you have a worldwide destiny before you. We are at a turning point. No, America is not at a final point. We have a skunk in the White House, unfortunately. We have a racist in the White House, unfortunately. A man who should be the total opposite of who he is. He's had all of the privileges. Why is he so selfish? Why is he so heartless? Well, he will not be there forever. He will not be there forever. He will be gone. Nixon and Spiro Agnew in 1972. I don't know if you remember I Have Stone's Weekly. This is before the internet. I Have Stone's Weekly was proclaiming way back when that the 1972 election was not going to happen. They were going to declare martial law and stop all elections and continue the Nixon administration with Spiro Agnew as his vice president. It didn't happen. There's rumors that they want to do the same thing with the 2018, the 2020. Americans, we cannot allow this to happen because of who we are, because of our grandparents and our parents and all those that have suffered and given their lives to the furtherance of America for everybody. It impels us to defend ourselves with human kindness and with acts of organization. Organícense, raza. Educate your children. To gain industrial skills is power. What Melinda has done and CET has done is to enhance the life of everybody. You'll never know where you're going to run into these cooks or these technicians. They may save your life one of these days, and it has been because the base has been established. Why are those that believe in it talking about a wall between Mexico and the United States? What the hell is that? Do you know that Mexico, half the population of Mexico is under 25 years old? The median age in this country is a lot older than that. What you've got in Mexico 100 years after the revolution is a new country, striving with all of their power and imagination and energy to create a better world for themselves. They are not the enemy. Mexico is not the enemy. Mexico is America, like America is America. And so the very notion of the wall, unless they're going to build condos on the other side, you know, is ridiculous. We have a man in the White House who doesn't deserve to be there. I think we know that. It remains to be seen how quickly we can get the rat out, but we'll get out. He'll be gone in due time. Love for other people. Never mind how big fancy ideas you have. No matter what you call whatever you do. The best measure, the finest measure of a person's intelligence is embodied in their concept of other people. I wrote that when I was 20 years old at San Jose State, because it seemed to me that's what was happening. So the poem by Prince Netzahualcoyotl of Texcoco, first in Aztec, in Nahuatl. Tlain mashtikinamikia kan machinemian moyolo ikti moyol se semana awik patikwika. Timoyol popoloa intlaltikpa kan machtitla tío. In Spanish, ¿qué era lo que acaso tu mente hallaba? ¿Dónde andaba tu corazón? Por esto das tu corazón a cada cosa. Sin rumbo lo llevas. Vas destrozando tu corazón. Sobre la tierra, ¿acaso puedes ir en pos de algo? And now in Spanish, what is it that your mind was looking for? Where's your heart? For this you give your heart to everything. Your heart is without direction. You are destroying your heart. On this earth, do you suppose that you can ever go in search of anything and find it? America, find your heart and save your soul. ¡Que viva la causa! ¡Que viva CET! ¡Que viva el movimiento! ¡Adelante!
Don Luis, you left your script up here. Oh, wait a minute. That was unscripted. Luis Valdez, ladies and gentlemen.
This commendation is from the county, and it's really about CET's accomplishments over the last 50 years. But more importantly than this commendation about the organization, we know that organizations are made of people and of leaders. And so tonight, part of the reason I think both Supervisor Cortese and I are so honored to be here is it gives us an opportunity to say thank you to each of the people who work in CET, who transform the lives of others, but also to acknowledge that Ermelinda Sapien has transformed the lives of almost every single person in this room. And this is an opportunity for us to honor your strength, your grace, your fierce defense of people who are in need, and frankly, your being a role model for every single one of us, particularly the women in this room, because you became the head of a nonprofit this large when there were not many women. And so tonight, I wanted to say how honored I am to call you not just a friend, but to be mentored by you. And I know many women in this room feel the same way. So, Dolores Huerta, to you, to Esther Medina, who's no longer with us, much of the change that's happening in this community, much of the fierce voices you're hearing from women is really one of your greatest legacies. Congratulations. You want to say something?
You know, I was hanging around with some great people today, including Arturo Rodriguez, the United Farm Workers, but I bumped into my father, who was on the Board of Supervisors 50 years ago, Rigo Chacon Walk Precincts Forum, right? And a few years ago, he was a recipient of an award that I took on his behalf at CET at the annual dinner for his role in helping out back then. And I asked him if he had anything to pass along, and he said to send his heartfelt regards. And he said, my other piece of advice is whatever you do, do not attempt to give a speech after Luis Valdez. So good night, everyone. Thank you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, another commendation from the city of San Jose. Please welcome Honorable Mayor Sam Licardo, Raul Perales, also the Vice Mayor Magdalena Carrasco, Johnny Camus. About 90% of the city council is here. Welcome on, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, Councilmember Raul Perales is going to do the honors, but I just wanted to note that we have all benefited this evening very concretely from the extraordinary work of CET, because I think we need to give a round of applause to the culinary arts students who have produced this wonderful dinner for us tonight. And I also want to thank the incredible professional and hardworking wait staff. Thank you. With that, Councilmember Raul Perales.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and it's my distinct pleasure to be able to be the representative here in this district that houses CET and to be able to present two accommodations today. And I, too, Damian, was happy not to have to follow Luis. Thank you, Cindy. Well, I think it was certainly expressed the best by Jose Jaime, as we heard tonight, the importance of this organization. So I'm not going to read exactly all the words that are written here on the commendation, because truly what this organization means is multiplied by 200,000 of what we heard today in Jose's story, and the lives that are changed, and not just from those 200,000 individuals, but of their families. It's exponential, the impact that this organization has had, not just here in San Jose or California, but really across our nation, and I can safely say across the world. So it is with that that I, along with my colleagues and as signed by the entire City Council, get to say thank you to CET and congratulations on your 50th anniversary. One more. So we've been able to give a lot of thanks tonight to somebody very important as well, but we wanted to say thank you individually to Ermelinda Sapien for all of your dedication to this organization, and I think that Russ certainly said it best, and I'm happy because today is the first day that I was able to hear from him the impact that you've had to this organization. And although this commendation does not match the gift that Arturo was able to give, it is a pleasure of mine, and I did want to be able to say and introduce the colleagues that are here with me, our Vice Mayor, Magdalena Carrasco, and then our council members, Ciber Arenas, certainly our Mayor, Sergio Jimenez, and Johnny Camus. But it's also signed by the entire City Council. We want to say thank you to Ermelinda for all of your dedication and work, and I did want to take a moment to be able to read a little bit about what this says for you. Ermelinda Sapien is a national advocacy leader for farm workers and education for all workers with over 40 years of experience in management, administration, and advocacy for improving the quality of life in multi-state communities. And in 2001, she organized and led a delegation of 55 organizations from throughout the nation to the White House Dialogue and Defense for funding for farm worker programs, and successfully reversed the defunding of farm worker programs and secured funding for 15 consecutive years. And she was a leader more recently in the 2015 enactment of Career Pathway Programs, which offers non-high school graduates financial aid and benefits nationwide for higher education, and in her role as President and Chief Executive Officer of CET, it has allowed her to inspire others to become leaders in their community while embracing what is in the heart of all communities, family. For your dedication and commitment, our mayor, myself, our entire council would like to offer you this commendation.
Everybody say hi to Bobby Sapien, because everywhere that Ermelinda is, her husband is right there all the time. Bobby. ¿Quieres una foto, Bobby, o después? Después, okay.
Well, it's my honor to be here on behalf of the state of California, along with Senator Bell, who I know also has a resolution to celebrate and congratulate CET. And as Senor Valdez spoke about what was happening in 1967, to think about starting a venture like this at that time, at that moment in time, and to see, of all places in the nation, in 50 years, the transformation that's happened here from the Valley of Hearts Delight to Silicon Valley, and the fact that CET has been not only part of that journey, oftentimes a silent part of that journey, but really a transformative part of what's happened here in this valley. And on this past Tuesday, Senator Bell and I were at Folsom State Prison and had the opportunity to interact with dozens upon dozens of inmates there. And one of the thoughts I was having tonight, just listening to all these amazing speakers and thinking about the journey, is the fact that there's so much lost potential there. And just the fact that we were there, they were thanking us because it gave us hope, just our presence. While CET has not just been giving hope, CET has been transforming people. 200,000. And think about the 200,000 if CET wasn't there. Think about those that would not have escaped a life that may have ended up in prison or homelessness. Or I think maybe even most importantly from what Chef Jose Jaime said, a life of fulfillment. I mean, think about how powerful that was when he said that CET has given him a life of fulfillment. And I don't know if there's a higher compliment in one's work than that. And so I'm so grateful to represent this community. I'm so grateful, as Cindy Chavez said, to have a mentor and role model like Ermelinda Sapien, and to have an organization like this in our community that has just done such an extraordinary job in transforming people. And so for that, I'm incredibly grateful. And I have a resolution from the State Assembly recognizing 50 years of CET.
Thank you.
Just that I'm honored to be here in the 50th. I was one of the 3 Community Services awardees on the 25th anniversary of CET. So it seems like 25 years ago, I was honored. And if you go in my office in Sacramento, on the wall in my office, that's right in the center of the office is where the award is. So if you ever visit Sacramento in the Capitol, that's CET awards in the Capitol building. Ermelinda, we have written some legislation over the last few years. We have gotten money in the budget over the last few years. In fact, Thursday, I'd like to announce that the housing bond, SB3, that I authored, will have $300 million for farm worker housing. Farm workers will have clean, sanitary housing, and we will have $4 billion housing bond placed on the ballot. Oh, I made a mistake. I wasn't supposed to say that. $3 billion now, maybe in a few hours, $4 billion. Okay, so the housing for the farm workers is in that, and we're so proud to have that in there. They need it so badly. You know, I was a farm worker for 10 years. I worked in the fields for 10 years in the valley. And when I was there, people were living in the caves along the San Joaquin River. Remember that? And then people would be chased away in the fields, and they would be exploited. So, yes, it is about justice. Social justice is what we're talking about here. This is all we're talking about. So when you vote as elected officials on an issue, you have to do it with the lens of social justice. Does it respond and create social justice? And I'm happy to have my guiding light here, Ermelinda. And thank you, Ermelinda, for working with me day to day on all those legislative activities. Thank you.
Well, it's a good thing there are no reporters in the room. Did you say $3 billion, Senator? Is that what it was? $4 billion, wow.
So with that, we conclude our program. 25 years ago, Los Lobos played at our anniversary, and they're back. And so we invite everyone to enjoy the concert. Thank you again, and good night.
felices de estar compartiendo con todos ustedes. Como ya ven, aquí la rumba ya comenzó. Así es de que nadie se quede sentado. Vamos todos a bailar. Porque el fuego de tus lindos ojos negros alumbraron el camino de otro amor. Y pensar que te adoraba tiernamente, que a tu lado como nunca me sentí. Y por esas cosas raras de la vida, sin el beso de tu boca yo me vi. Amor de mis amores, amor mío, que me hiciste, que no puedo conformarme sin poderte contemplar. Yo que pagaste mal a mi cariño tan sincero, lo que conseguirás no te nombré nunca más. Amor de mis amores, si dejaste de quererme, no hay cuidado que la gente de eso no se enterará. Que cuando con decir que un hombre cambió mi suerte, se burlarán de mí, que nadie sepa mi sufrir. ¿Y dónde están las mujeres? ¡A eso! No te asombres si te digo lo que fuiste, un ingrato con mi pobre corazón. Porque el fuego de tus lindos ojos negros alumbraron el camino de otro amor. Y pensar que te adoraba tiernamente, que a tu lado como nunca me sentí. Y por esas cosas raras de la vida, sin el beso de tu boca yo me vi. Amor de mis amores, si dejaste de quererme, no hay cuidado que la gente de eso no se enterará. Que gano con decir que un hombre cambió mi suerte, se burlarán de mí, que nadie sepa mi sufrir. ¡Ay, mira, y a ver una vueltecita sexy. ¡Sabroso! ¡Uy! Amor de mis amores, si dejaste de quererme, no hay cuidado que la gente de eso no se enterará. Que gano por decir que un hombre cambió mi suerte, se burlarán de mí, que nadie sepa mi sufrir. ¡Mira, mira!
Ahí nomás.
For the next 50 years, I wish to continue doing the work that we have been doing, but I also expect us to train double the number of people that we have trained, and also add new programs and new centers. But I think that our biggest accomplishment is our students, people who come with no skills and who leave with great skills to get better jobs and make better lives for themselves and for their families. The community that needs so much in ways of economic strength and economic improvement. Just that I'm very, very happy that this day is here and that we have all kinds of friends here and supporters, and hope everyone enjoys themselves.
Well, I worked for 43 years, and it's really helped the community. You know, San Jose was nothing but orchards and canneries, and we started with the farm workers. And we're one of the organizations that Cesar Chavez and Dolores really helped us, because we were helping the farm workers transition from the fields and the orchards to electronics in Silicon Valley here. And we have trained over 200,000 people. You know, my 43 years just went too fast, and I'm still involved, but it's something that the students are the ones que tienen ganas, que they train and went to work. And that's what made the program here at CET, that we could train a person in 6 or 7 months, from culinary to medical to electricians, or before it was machinists, sheet metal. So we have to look at the skills, the jobs that they're out there. So right now, a lot of jobs are coming in the high tech, and that's what we have to get our kids into the future jobs. The next 50 years that we have different centers and expand to the new technology that they're changing, and help are the ones that are not completing high school, the ones that drop out of school, the ones that maybe were displaced, just like the cannery workers, General Motors, and all those auto workers. We trained them and got them back into the industry. And later on, we were able to help a lot of the individuals, and especially we have people that come all the way from King City. You know, that's 2-hour drive, and they're here every day, and they get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and they leave the bus at 5:30, and they're here at 7:30. So that's really determination that our students are dedicated, and they want to get out of those fields. And we have to continue helping the next generation, the new immigrants that are here that need a skill to be employable.
Well, I want to congratulate CET because there's many organizations that started back there in the early 70s, and they're gone now. But the CET, not only is it here, it is stronger than ever before, touching so many lives, changing so many lives, giving people the kind of training that they need so they can really have a fulfilled life experience and make a better way for themselves and their families. And I can think of no better organization. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful leadership that they have with this organization. And I hope that they last for another 50 years. And I want to say, que viva CET. And they have shown the true meaning of si se puede, yes we can. I think when we look at all of the years, I like to remember 1986 when we passed the amnesty bill that legalized several million people, especially 2 million farm workers, and I was very involved in making that happen. And I just want to say to everybody, thanks Senator Ted Kennedy, Peter Rodino, Howard Berman from California, Schumer, who was then in the Congress, and they're the ones that made that happen, nobody else. Sí se puede. And Melinda has taken this organization to higher levels, and she has shown that women as leaders can lead, women can manage, women can make something expand and get better with time. And so I admire her so much, and I just wish her many, many more years of being in charge and leading the way for everyone. Thank you, and Melinda, love you. Well, I think CET is a pillar in the community in San Jose because not only do the work that they do, but they're very involved in the community. So they are lifting all of the boats for everybody. And this is the kind of nonprofit organizations that we need in every community. And we wish them all the luck in the world and thank them. We are very grateful for CET.
Yeah, so, been with CET, working with them for 15 years. When I was the general manager for PepsiCo here in the Bay, started working with them on different programs, and then, really evolved, right? Great organization, great values, it really meshed what we wanted to do. And so I started to work with them, and then I've been a board member for the last 10 years. So great partnership, but also it's just great to give back to the community, and what the CET does here is phenomenal. Really what I want to do is continue to expand and sustain, right? With the way the economy is in the marketplace, it's important that we continue to, train and focus on individuals to make them better, right? So sustainability for me is the biggest thing. It's the people, right? It's the people. It's people that people care, and it's the students, right? The students who really come here and they evolve in life, not only from an academic perspective, but also just from a personal perspective. So it's just it's a great program. 40th to 50th, it's a great event. I was here at the 40th. It's a great celebration, and it's well deserved, right? Great organization. It makes a big impact in the community and across the nation. So very, very happy to be here.
Well, we have been friends of CET for almost its whole lifetime, and CET has been a tremendous supporter of my company, El Teatro Campesino, the Farm Workers Theater. But we've performed in their theater. We helped to inaugurate the Soto Theater. But also, they've supported us in our general work. You know, I mean, as an organization to organization, I think that it's been a vital relationship and mutually supportive. And we've even talked about developing industrial skills that go into show business as well. You know, we haven't really implemented anything, but that was the whole goal, is to set it up so that people would get training here to go into the technical aspect of show business. Well, I think they've done a wonderful job. They're building from the ground up, literally from the grassroots, and they're teaching people employable skills. I mean, that's the foundation. You know, if people don't have industrial skills, how can they participate, right? And then what the people do with those skills is something else. They can get creative. They go into business of their own. You know, it's all part of letting people build their own opportunities and their own dreams, you know, through a hands-on effort and education that is practical and down to earth. Well, I want to congratulate Ermelinda Sapien personally for, I think, an achievement. This is one of the most phenomenal organizations of the last 50 years that has evolved from the whole Chicano movement. They've had tremendous successes. It speaks for itself. And the success is really the people that have come through here have learned skills that they've been able to apply to their lives. And I think that gets the greater help, the greater hope of the community rises, you know, with every achievement of the individual. So it's been a great achievement, and I congratulate Ermelinda and the whole staff. Chris and Nelly Longoria have been members of El Teatro Campesino board for years, but they have also involved us here. They are also on the board at CET. So we've had a direct link from organization to organization. We appreciate it. Que viva CET for another 50 years.
We're delighted to have our name associated with this wonderful organization. We've always believed that job training, education is the surest way out of poverty, and this school has done remarkable work. 300 or 400 students every year. It's fantastic work, fantastic work. Well, we hope they can enlarge, but you know, the campus is constrained size-wise, but it'd be nice if we can get twice as many kids, not just kids, but twice as many people through here over the next few years. She's a wonderful role model, wonderful person, got a lot of drive. The school would not be a success as it is without her, Melinda, for sure.
I am extremely passionate about what CET does. It's transformed over 200,000 lives with the training skills, providing the training skills and the support services that are so desperately needed in order for farm workers and underserved individuals who, for whatever reason, weren't able to make it in mainstream education, but were able to be successful here with us. We're able to address the needs of those populations. And this is why CET is so successful, and this is why we've transformed over 200,000 lives over the past 50 years that we've been here. I'm so proud of being a part of this. For CET is continued success. And I wish that continued success to be implemented by individuals that are dedicated, individuals that are loyal to the cause, and to understand individuals that understand the mission of CET. And it just so happens that we have those type of individuals at the moment, and this is why we've been so successful. Thank God for Ermelinda Sapien, our executive director, who leads us, and she's a great leader, and she's been able to take us to these heights and been able to continue to keep CET going and keeping ahead.
Well, let's see, I was started with Anthony Soto, the Father Anthony Soto. We started in 50 years ago. We got a grant from the Archbishop to do the first training, and we trained 15 welfare recipient men with 3 to 5 children each, and limited English, and we got a shop with a machine shop in it, and we trained them on there, and we placed 14 of them as machinist assistants. And then we moved to a big place, 10,000 square feet, which 200 volunteers renovated and helped. And we went into, we start writing proposals, and then we start getting more money, and we kept growing to, I think we were in about 35 centers in the United States that we controlled, and then there's others that independents have started and replicated our program. I'm happy that we're having a 50th anniversary, and we need to look forward to the next 50 years.
I mean, it's incredible. I'm personally affected by it because I have 2 family members who benefited by all the services that CET offers, and so it's a professional commitment for me and a personal commitment. I've seen the fruits of what they've labored, and it's incredible. It's incredible what they've been doing for the last 50 years. You can't say enough words about what Ermelinda has done to carry on the tradition that the founders established here with CET. I mean, she's taken it to a higher level, to a level where, I mean, so many agencies like this one folded when there was the recession, and this one just kept thriving, and it offered opportunities for those who suffered from that recession. So it just shows you what kind of leadership she offered and what she continues to do to build this organization into what it is now and what it will be. CET is grassroots. And whenever you talk about grassroots, you're going to see a lot of grassroots people here. I just saw Dolores Huerta here. I came with Artie Rodriguez with the UFW. I saw Luis Valdez here. I mean, it shows you the fact that they're here. It's a humble gathering. We're not here to brag about anything. We're here to celebrate what we've accomplished, and that's because it is a grassroots organization. These are grassroots people. This is salt of the earth right here. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm honored to be invited to be the MC for tonight. My job is to be like an umpire or referee, to kind of be behind the scenes and not be noticed, because the people who should be noticed are the graduates, the people who went through this program, the people who are still in this program, and those who are making it successful.
Well, this is amazing. I mean, CET is like a sister organization to the UFW. We've both been in existence for well over 50 years now, and we've both fought the good fights on behalf of workers, on behalf of migrant families, farm worker families throughout the state of California, and we're all committed and to continue this work.
Anything that you see a lot of founders here of CET, of Belinda and other else, anything that you want to say about the founders?
Well, first of all, we just want to congratulate Ermelinda on the tremendous leadership that she has exercised throughout these 50 years. All the staff of CET, all the accomplishments, 250,000 graduates, that's 250,000 people that are out there. And the impact that they've had on rural America, on California, in terms of what we're doing here. And that the reality is that they believe in people, and they believe in people that everybody else didn't think that they had value to our state, to our country, and yet CET has demonstrated time and again that these are important folks, that they are worth investing in, and that's what CET has done, is invested in people to make sure that they continue to contribute to our economy. I think the most important thing is that we need to continue, have more leaders like Ermelinda Sapien, more leaders like have been the founders of CET, just to continue the work. I mean, certainly they have created a whole crop of individuals that have continued to work and demonstrate the need of organizations and the work that CET has done in terms of training people and developing people and giving them the skills that they need so that they can do everything they possible to make America great. I would be remiss if I didn't say that CET is really an example of the sí se puede attitude. It can be done. Ellos lo hicieron, siguen haciéndolo, y lo van a seguir haciendo en el futuro. Sí se puede.
It's been a long time. I've been involved with CET for at least 40 of the 50 years, and I've been an advocate with them, gone on the marches and the farm worker marches, and then also as a city council member, getting funds for the culinary program and the renovation of Woodrow Wilson Junior High School, where we used to swim and play basketball when we were kids here in San Jose. So this is a remarkable institution in getting 200,000 jobs for people, including thousands of them here in San Jose. So we're quite proud of this institution. It's considered to be the top job training program in the United States, actually. and it's the largest program in the western United States. So they are a great program. We urge public support for it. They're kind of an unsung hero in the Santa Clara County area. They have helped so many companies in terms of their staff and providing the training and getting people out of unemployment and public assistance. So we all should be strongly supporting this organization. Well, it's a very stable organization because Hermelinda Sapien has been involved in the organization for all 50 years. It's absolutely a remarkable experience that she had, and she's like the icon in the United States for job training programs leadership, and is a leader in our community. People so much respect for her as a leader and the person that puts us on the right track. You can see how many people are here to respect her and honor her tonight, and that's so important. Well, what we're trying to do is right now we've got legislation on the housing legislation, and it looks like we're going to have about $3, maybe $4 billion of housing, including $300 million for farm worker housing, which CET has definitely been involved in as a farm worker, having safe, clean housing for farm workers, and that's so important.
As an incoming council member a decade ago, I recall celebrating the 40th anniversary of CET. At the time, of course, I served this surrounding neighborhood and all of downtown, and so many of my residents benefited enormously from the job training programs that they had to help so many folks get back on their feet. And today they continue to set the standard for the rest of the country. And we're just very grateful to be the place here in San Jose that was the launching pad for this incredibly innovative idea of CET.
Any word for Melinda Sapien?
Yes, Melinda Sapien is one of the great heroes of our city, and I know that her work is not limited to just San Jose now. Of course, she's been a leader nationwide, but we are so proud of her legacy and so grateful that she has continued to lead all these years. So we know it have been lean years, but her perseverance and her ganas have really kept us going. And this has meant so much for hundreds of families in our community.
Anything you want to wish CET and anything that I have not asked you that you want to add?
Say felicidades to CET and the entire team here. We're so incredibly proud of you, that you are a child of San Jose that has birthed many children that are going on to make great things happen throughout the country.
Thank you. Asbjørn Aslan, I'm chairman of the board at CET. And one of the things I wanted to mention was how the farm workers' prayer just brings tears to my eyes every time we say it. And we say it before every board meeting, and the priest said it tonight as well. It's just so touching, and it is probably one of the best sort of statements about CET. I really think that's the goodness of CET. And the human development part, like I mentioned earlier, is one of the key components. We train people to do different jobs, but more importantly, the staff helps them a lot to get through the program, because a lot of them face obstacles in just getting through. And then Hermelinda Sapien, which we saw all the honors she received tonight. She's just a great person to work with. I mean, she's goes beyond being a charismatic leader and knows the organization inside and out, because as a board member, I sit and listen to the finances all the time, and we talk about enrollment all the time, and she knows every detail. She knows how to do everything. She understands all the nitty-gritty of the organization, so she's not just sort of an armchair leader. She's in the trenches working with people and teaching them what to do, and understands everything, and works effectively with the board, I might add, too. Thank you.
Wow. Anything else you want to add? Or the wishes of the 50th?
Well, it's great to be here for the 50th. I hope we have another 50th or 100th sometime. The organization meets a need, obviously, and we just want to keep doing what we're doing. And now we're expanding into Richmond, which is a real nice move, because we haven't worked in that part of the Bay ever, and so that'll be good. So we're looking forward to that, and the assistance of the local people there, including Chevron. Thank you.
Congratulations to CET for 50 years of being a service to the community, bringing opportunity to our people. and congratulations on that. And yeah, it was 25 years ago, which is, it's hard to believe that here we are, and it's been 50 years. So I guess I earned every gray hair. Yeah, it was a convention center. It was enormous, enormous thing. It was great to see so many people, kind of supporting this sort of thing, especially when you think of how a lot of these groups like this one started just like as an idea and with half a dozen people, passing the hat around to try to keep the lights on. And this is incredible that 50 years later, they're still here, and 44 years later, Los Lobos are still here. So I see a parallel there, is that when you really believe in something, and even though it sounds kind of corny, it's true, you believe in something, you stay with it. It had a name, Los Lobos, which is in Spanish, and there was 4 Chicano kids, and it was a traditional Mexican song as a #1 record all over the world. That's a huge thing, that it's not that we can't claim it all for ourselves. And I'm sure with CET, everything that they've done in the past 50 years, it's not just on the backs of one person. It's everybody working together, right? So that is our legacy. That is this group's legacy too. I'm just thrilled that we're here. And whenever I see people who are been at this for this long, it's just incredibly inspiring. We've been doing this for a long time, but when you're in the middle of it, it's almost like when people talk about you, you wonder, like, you look over your shoulder like, who are they talking about? Because we're interested in doing the work, and I'm sure the same with this group too.